Welcome to the Dark Shadows Podcast with your co-hosts Vicky Ray, Tom Diamond, and Keith Chowgle, bringing you all the odd goings-on from Collinsport, Maine.
Hello, everybody. This is Tom Diamond from the Literary License Podcast, and I hope all is well with all of you and that you're surviving through the COVID virus. Vicky Ray is here, and Vicky.
Hi, everybody. I hope everybody's healthy and happy and all that good stuff.
Absolutely.
Love to all.
Absolutely. And we have a very special guest today, Michael Hadge. And for those of you who are new Dark Shadows fans, you may or may not have seen him, but the old ones remember him as Buzz. Buzz was a small but seminal character on the show. Michael, say hello to the fans.
Hello.
How you doing today, Michael?
I'm doing okay.
That's great. That's great. We want to thank you for helping us out here as we spoke. This podcast is to maintain the posterity of the Dark Shadows fandom, and you do have a fandom out there. And you were telling me, actually, that you're still getting mail from the fans, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. Surprisingly, I'm really kind of astonished at the impact the part played on the show.
Well, there you go.
Does he know that it's been re-released on Amazon and people are watching?
So Vicky wants to know, and I just want to explain to the fans, we have a special phone set up today, so I'm communicating Vicky's questions to Michael, because Michael is, because there's a phone issue there. I do apologize for this, but I am communicating Vicky's questions. So Vicky wants to know if you're aware that Amazon Prime has re-released all the episodes and that you're on it. Did you know about that, Michael?
No, I didn't. I didn't. And you know, to be honest, I really haven't followed much about what has transpired since I'm really off the show.
Well, it's obvious, though, that you're still getting email. You told me you're still getting fan letters. You got something from Sweden, you told me?
Yeah, I did. I got something from Sweden, and of course, I did get calls from people who putting together these reunions, which they did occasionally.
So you got stuff from Sweden. What's that, Vicky?
Has he had a chance to attend and reconnect?
Well, Vicky's question is whether you've been able to go to the conventions, and you were telling me that you weren't, that you haven't been able to go to the conventions, but you have answered the fan mail, right?
Yeah, I did. I always feel like you should do that. As far as the reunions are concerned, I just wasn't interested, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, that's why it's so good that you're talking with us now, because the reunions haven't been around for a couple of years after the 50th reunion, and now there's nothing with the COVID. So, and we don't know when that's going to happen again. Anyway, let's cut to the chase. And this is basically, the fans would like to know about your entire life, not just Dark Shadows. Of course, they're very interested in that.
What he's doing now.
And of course. So let's go back to the beginning, Michael. You're a son.
I tell you, I can't really remember how I got on Dark Shadows in the first place. I think what happened was Dan Curtis saw me in a play in New York.
Okay.
And that's kind of how I got on his show. I never really auditioned for it.
He just took you just like that. Well, they obviously had the Buzz character in mind, and when he saw you, he must have realized that you were the one for the role. He also did that with John Carlin, by the way. John Carlin, and you remember, you told me you knew him. John Carlin did not get an audition either. They had to.
Well, you told me that he liked hiring New York stage actors.
Well, that was through Layla Swift, yes, the director, and you remembered Layla Swift.
Oh, right, that's right.
And Layla and everybody. Michael worked with Layla Swift. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Michael? You're working with Layla Swift.
Well, I think I did too. I actually did another soap opera, a daytime show called Search for Tomorrow.
Oh my God, you were on that? I love that show.
I directed one of my episodes on that show.
What character did you play? Do you remember that by any chance?
On Search for Tomorrow? No, I played. You know an actress? You remember an actress named Jill Clayburgh?
Yes. Oh, Jill Clayburgh, for God's sakes, for the movies. She was on there.
She was on Search for Tomorrow.
I never knew.
And I played her boyfriend.
You played Jill Clayburgh's boyfriend on Search for Tomorrow.
Very cool.
Right.
I think Vicky was a Search for Tomorrow fan, so she would remember. Yeah, but so Layla Swift was on Search for Tomorrow. You were saying, right?
Yeah. I think she did directed one or two of my episodes on that show. I actually was on Search for Tomorrow longer than Dark Shadows.
There you go. You were telling me about Layla that she was a no nonsense kind of director.
Yeah, she was a tough lady.
Tell us a little bit about that. Was she a My Way or the Highway, or did she? How did she get along with you?
We got along okay. I mean, I think she liked my work, but she would give me some direction once in a while that I didn't agree with. I think I told you once. She said to me, when you tell your girlfriend goodbye, give her a little cuff on the chin.
Uh-huh.
And I said to her, Layla, guys do not give girls cuffs on the chin when they say goodbye these days. They might have done that in the 40s or 30s, but not today. She didn't appreciate that.
Well, it is what it is. But still, that is very interesting. How did you first get into acting, Michael? What bit you? What was the acting bug that bit you?
Well, it really it started. I was in college, and I just got so bored with college, I dropped out, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I actually joined the Coast Guard.
Okay.
Oh, no, okay.
And I was stationed in Honolulu.
Okay.
And I had special duty there. I only had to be on duty from midnight to 8 in the morning 3 times a week, and the rest of the time was my own. So I got involved with a small theater group there, and I used to see these same guys and girls on Waikiki Beach every day, and I got friendly with them, and they belonged to a theater group called the Spendthrift Players. Uh-huh. I always remember that, Spendthrift Players.
Okay.
And they asked me to join their group, which I did. And I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed acting. I'll never forget the first play I ever did with them was called Stalag 17, which had been done on Broadway.
It was also a movie with William Holden.
And it was a movie that William Holden won the Academy Award for.
That's right. And
it was a lot of fun. And then I got transferred to the Philippines, but when I came back from the Philippines to Honolulu and looked up my director there, the Spendthrift Players, and I told him I was going back to the States to get discharged. And he said, well, what are you going to do, Michael? And I said, I still have no idea. He said, listen, get involved in the theater. Become an actor. And I said, really? And he said, yeah, I think you have talent. And I said, wow. I said, I never even considered that. I was just doing this as a lark.
Wow.
And he says, no. He says, go back. And when you do go back, go to New York. He said, that's the place where the real actors are.
Yep.
So I took his advice.
And how long ago was this? In the 40s or the 50s?
Beg your pardon?
How long ago was this? Was it in the 1940s or the 1950s?
No, that was in the late 50s, early 60s.
Okay.
I think, somewhere there. And I came to New York, and I started studying, really seriously started studying acting, and I got into the actor's studio, which you may have heard of.
I certainly have. Sure.
And I studied with Lee Strasberg and Elia Kazan. Kazan was a great director at the time. He did On the Waterfront, Streetcar Named Desire. The studio was a really it was an exciting place to be at that time.
So you studied with the greats. There's no doubt about that. And I also want to, I don't know if the fans are aware, but Hogan's Heroes, that comedy series during the 1960s, was based loosely on Stalag 17. That was the serious movie. And
it was based on what?
Hogan's Heroes. I don't know if you remember that. That was based on Stalag 17. It was a comedy takeoff on it. Yeah, that whole thing with Bob Crane and Werner Klemperer, you know.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was a takeoff on Stalag 17. It was really a parody of Stalag 17. So it's interesting that in terms of how you got in. So you were now. I took a look. There's not a lot of information on you on the web. But I did take a look, and you were in a series called East Side, West Side in 1964. I don't know if you remember that. They have you as a credit.
That was a television show that George C. Scott did. And I only did 2 of those.
Okay.
But I really enjoyed working with George. He was a great guy and a tremendous talent.
Really, that's wonderful.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's really good. You also had an uncredited appearance in Loving You from 1957. It was a movie. I don't know.
Oh yeah. That was with Elvis.
So you were in an Elvis movie.
No kidding. Yeah. That's fantastic.
There you go.
Very, very, very small thing, but I met Elvis, and he was very nice. As a matter of fact, he was playing touch football one day outside the soundstage and asked me to play with him and his friends. He had a whole group of guys he traveled around with.
Wow.
That's fantastic.
And
Vicky says that's fantastic.
After we shot the scene that I was in with Elvis, he invited me to go with him and his buddies to buy shoes at a shoe store. I always remember that, but I didn't go.
That's good.
And one of his friends said to me, "Michael, you should come with us. You'll get a free pair of shoes."
Did they have you dress up? I'm just curious. Did they have you dress up in a beatnik kind of role for Loving You?
No. No. That was I was just some people that were in a nightclub with Elvis.
Oh, I got you. So you're in Broadway then. You're doing. So moving on to the '60s, you're doing Broadway plays. And you were in.
Yeah, I was doing a couple of Broadway plays. Then I went down to the Kennedy Center in Washington, and I did a play with James Earl Jones called "Of Mice and Men" by John Steinbeck.
Wow.
Which was a very famous play. And
certainly was.
Yeah.
While I was there, I got a call from someone that I had worked with in New York, who happened to be on a board of directors of a theater in New York, and he told me they had fired everybody. And he wondered if I would come to New York and meet with the board of directors. They had to take over the theater. And I said to him, I don't know anything about running a theater, Jim. He says, well, come in and meet with them. I happen to think that you would be very good for it. And as it turned out, when the show closed in Washington, I came back to New York and met with the board of directors of this theater. And I was quite surprised they ended up hiring me. Actually, I was shocked. I had no idea I'd really get hired. But
well, I have a feeling that your actual real life presence was very different from the Buzz character on Dark Shadows. Because if you walked in drumming the table and saying, "Hey man, give me some bread," I kind of doubt they would have looked at you.
No, that's true. But I tell you, I think the reason I got fired, and now that I recall this, is because when I went in and met with the board of directors, I had a very clear picture of what I wanted to do if I took over the theater. And I told them, I said, I do not want to do revivals, and I don't want to do musicals. I definitely want to do new American plays. I'd like to work with new American playwrights.
Serious actor. You're a serious actor.
And I said to them, that's it. And I think because I had a clear picture of how I would like to steer that theater, I think that was the reason they hired me.
Well, that's
and I worked with a lot of wonderful people. Holly Hunter did her first play with me.
Holly Hunter, sure.
And a lot of good people got their start at that theater. And actually, while I was doing that theater, Al Pacino used to come and see the plays that I was doing there all the time, and he really liked the work we were doing. And then he ended up calling me up one day and said he was going to form his own company, and he wanted me to come work for him.
And you did.
So I ended up, I was very interested actually in learning about film production anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up working for Al's Theater Company for 10 years.
Wow.
Is that how we got into Carlito's Way?
One of the films that I produced, while I was working for Al was a film called Looking for Richard, which was a documentary.
Okay.
And we had a royal premiere. Prince Charles gave me a royal premiere in London with charitable his charity.
Wow.
And when we had the premiere in London, he was very gracious. I found him to be very nice.
Well, I believe you also had a small part in Carlito's Way. That was Vicky's question.
Yeah, a couple of films that I did. That Al did while I was working with him. He asked me to be in them, so I did a thing in Carlito's Way. I did a thing, something else too. I can't remember what it was.
There's something called The Shadow. I don't know if that was him in '94.
Oh no, that was with Alec Baldwin.
Oh, you did it with Alec Baldwin. Oh, that's yeah. And then Hits.
And I also did a film which they constantly show on television. I'm constantly getting residuals from it.
That's
it's
good.
a film called Budwing with James Garner.
Wow. And then there's something called Hits from '94. I don't know if that.
What is that?
Hits. 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 That you have a credit on there. I'm not sure what that's about. But anyway, what I want to get back to in Dark Shadows. So now, when you were selected for the Buzz character, you were telling me, and I'd like you to tell the fans about the fact that you actually came up with the costume for Buzz, huh?
Well, I kind of had an idea of the character, and I had a kind of visual sense of what he should look like. And the costume designer was very gracious in the sense that I can't remember who it was, but I think it was a woman.
Well, you would have had Edith Tillies, you would have had Rams Mustaller.
Whoever it was, they allowed me to kind of create it myself to wear what I wanted. They had some stuff there, and I kind of picked it out.
So that's a very important point, because we were talking about on the last podcast, we were going over that block of episodes where you appeared, and we thought that because the costume was so much of the 1950s, so we thought the writers, did not for some reason want to make you into a hippie character, because remember that was 1967 when you were on, and you had the Beat Generation.
When was it? We did it. I did it.
You did it in 1967.
1967. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was the year of the Summer of Love and everything, but you were really.
I remember that. I remember in the prop room. There was some chains lying around. I said, I'd like to use this.
Really? Okay, so that's how you came with the chains. Yeah. And we put the chains on, and then you put and then you had the jacket, and you still don't know where that jacket is, huh? Remember that jacket that you wore?
Yeah. I had a scarf too, I think.
Yeah.
I think I was wearing a scarf. I can't remember. I think so.
You were also wearing a necklace. It looked like a Madonna necklace.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. It looked like a religious, Christian religious necklace. And then, of course, now here's a question that all the fans want to know, Michael. Was that your actual hair, or did they put a hairpiece on you?
No, that was my actual hair.
Because it looked like you were wearing a wig.
I got a lot of hair.
Yeah. Oh, no, that hairdo was my idea too. I just got it all straightened out and messed up.
That's funny. That's really funny. Well,
I felt like I wanted to make him an extreme character. You know,
He was extreme.
Oh, he was extreme. Vicky said he was extreme. All right.
Tell him he's very memorable. A lot of people remember him.
Vicky says that you're very memorable in that character, and a lot of people remember you. In fact, I can tell you that when people talk about that particular period of time, they say, "What happened to Buzz? What happened to Buzz?"
Well, it's funny. One day on the subway, someone stood up and pointed at me and said, "Buzz," and it was very embarrassing. He shouted at the whole car, "Buzz!"
That's funny. Well, you could have came up to him and given him a punch. That would have shut him up. That's funny. It does seem that let me ask you about your reminiscences, and we talked a little bit about that. And whatever you can, because it was a long time ago for you, but you said, for instance, that Alexandra Moltke, Alexandra Isles, you came to know her.
Yeah, she was. I thought she was very sweet. I thought she was really nice. As a matter of fact, I remember one day having a conversation with her and talking about, I was asking her what she really wanted to do, whether she wanted to stay with the show or do some plays, or what she wanted to do. It was very. I sort of spent my free time with her, and I found her to be very. Then I found out she had something to do with Von Bulow.
Yes. Yes.
And I thought, wow, what in the world is she doing with that guy?
Well, that was a long time ago, but still in all, this is really interesting. What do you remember about Nancy Barrett, Carolyn?
I remember that she enjoyed talking about the parties she went to. I never could figure out where her head was. I mean, sometimes I would be wanting to really prepare to do a scene, and I think she would be somewhere else.
Well, she was a social butterfly, apparently. But one of the biggest...
But she was nice. I mean, look, I think I told you, I really liked everybody on the show. I thought David Selby, I don't think I had any scenes with David, but he was around, and I thought everybody was very nice. I thought that there was a really good group of people, and I think they enjoyed working with each other.
Well, that's very true. And you said John Carlin was also very nice to you.
John Carlin, when I came on the show, he was the first one to really befriend me.
Uh-huh. Wow.
I think Joan was scared of me. I don't know what Joan was thinking, but I think she was scared of me.
Oh no.
Joan Bennett.
Why would he be scared? Why would he? Oh, Joan Bennett, you're saying? Yeah,
Joan Bennett. Yeah.
Well, probably because of you were too good as an actor. That was probably the makeup. The makeup really scared you.
Well, also, I thought that she didn't want me around in terms of the storyline, her character. So maybe she was just trying to keep her distance from the character of Buzz,
Yeah. I'm okay. I'm going to get a little closer to the microphone now because I am getting a written message. Vicky and I, everybody in a situation like this, we have to text as well as talk. And I'm told that I'm sounding too far away from the mic, but that you're great. So you see, here it is, Michael. We thought that they wouldn't be able to hear you. It turns out they can't hear me. But
I can hear you. You're just kind of moving a little bit away from your microphone.
All right. Well, now I'm twisting the mic. Now I'm twisting the mic towards me. All right. So, you were okay. So so Joan Bennett was somebody that you were able. Do you remember Louis Edmonds, Roger Collins? He played the brother. He had that very English pseudo British accent.
I know who he was. I don't think I had any scenes with him though.
Okay. And who else? Catherine Leigh Scott, Maggie Evans. Catherine Leigh Scott did go to the Actors Studio also, but I'm not sure whether you knew him or not. I knew her or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you
from
did.
The studio. And who was the other woman that I mentioned to you when we were talking? I can't think of her name.
Joan Bennett?
No, he talked about Joan Bennett. No, you talked about Joan Bennett. So you had Mitch Ryan. By the way, you talked about Mitch Ryan.
Well, yeah, I knew Mitch very well from the studio, and as a matter of fact, he had gotten into the active studio before me, and then he moved out to California to do movies.
Ah, okay.
But Mitch, we discussed this before. He had a drinking problem.
Yes, right. Yes. Unfortunately, we covered that in the last episode. But what we also said was that he went on to do a lot of good things, in both in TV and film, which also spans an extensive career.
Very much so.
Absolutely. We also talked about you were. The Buzz character, by the way, the origin of that name comes from Rebel Without a Cause, the James Dean movie, if you remember that movie,
sure.
and the Sal Mineo character was Buzz. So
I didn't remember that.
Yeah,
but I remember the movie. Yeah,
yeah, that's how that came about. Did you get any fan mail when you were on the show, Michael?
Oh yeah. As a matter of fact, I got a lot of calls about it. There was some discussion at one time just before I was leaving the show about whether I wanted to come back. I think I told you I was interested in really doing plays, but the thing about shows like Search for Tomorrow and Dark Shadows was it allowed the actor to make a little money to keep them in New York to do plays.
Right. Right.
And I really wasn't that interested in being on the show that long. Well,
it's ironic because you're
not to put the show down at all. You understand? It wasn't that. It was just I was really interested in just doing theater mainly.
Well, that's very, but and it is understandable. There were a lot of actors, as I told you on the show, that were able to moonlight. Jonathan Frid did theater. David Selby, John Carlin did theater. They were able, they were able to take off. Grayson Hall. You knew Grayson.
Oh, yeah, Grayson. Right. That's what I was trying to think of.
Yeah. Tell us about Grayson Hall.
Well, I thought she was a terrific actress. I really, I know she did some, she went on and did some movies, I think,
Yep.
But
Yep.
It was the only time I worked with her, but I liked her a lot.
She did Night of the Iguana, and she was nominated.
That's right, Night of the Iguana. And then I did a project with her over at the Actors Studio.
Uh-huh.
The Actors Studio was a really starting place for a lot of incredible theater projects like Virginia Woolf, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf?
Sure.
And, Ed Albee did a lot of this stuff there. It all originated there. Zoo Story and plays like that. And then Tennessee Williams was always over there developing his project. Night of the Iguana originated at the Actors Studio.
Wow.
It was originally done there. And Tennessee was very close to the Actors Studio. As a matter of fact, I was doing a play off Broadway, and Tennessee Williams came and saw it and liked it so much that he invited the cast out for a late dinner one night.
Uh-huh.
And there was just three of us in the cast, so it was really incredible. This was towards the end of Tennessee Williams' career, really, in terms of success in the theater. And he pretended, he just got so drunk and he didn't eat anything, and it was very sad, you know.
He got depressed. He got depressed.
He just seemed to be so unhappy.
That's a shame. That's a shame. But still, my God, what a lot of stories you have. Was Marilyn Monroe?
I got a call just yesterday. Somebody told me that the actress Shirley Knight had just
she passed away. Yes, that was on the internet. Yeah.
You know, and I really was sorry to hear that because I had directed her in something at the Actors Studio. Another very talented and sweet girl.
Wow. Was Marilyn Monroe there when you were at the Actors?
She was around. Yeah, she had come to New York before me, and she was observing at the Actors Studio, and I think I was there when she was there for 2 sessions, and then she left.
Wow. Well, you know, but certainly that's part of history.
But I used to sit next to Eva Marie Saint all the time.
Oh, she was, oh God. I mean, you know, North by Northwest and all the rest of the stuff that she did. I was going to say, you also knew Thayer David. You knew him as well, didn't you?
Did I? I can't remember. David Selby?
No. Thayer David. Maybe. Well, you did know David Selby, and that was from later on when you did a play with him.
I think so, yeah. But who is the other one you just mentioned?
Thayer David played, well, he wasn't on the show when you were on. I thought maybe you might have known him from the Broadway.
I don't remember. I don't remember doing anything with him. I might have been in a film with him. I didn't list all the films
that you did.
You did.
Uh-huh.
You know, when I mentioned this film I did, Budwing, Budwing, with James Garner, I really liked working with James. I thought he was a terrific guy.
Wow.
I would do a thing with him, and yet I asked him if I could take some time to work out some business, and he said, "Take all the time you want, Michael." That's the kind of guy he was, and I was a nobody.
Let me throw a couple of other names your way. At that point, when you were on the show, there was an actor by the name of Robert Geringer, who played Dave Wood.
I did a television show with him.
He was great on the show, on Dark Shadows. He played the doctor on the show.
Yeah, and I did another television show with him. I can't remember which one it was now.
He was excellent. I mean, on the show. I mean, he was the Dr. Kildare of Dark Shadows, we used to call him, because he was very sympathetic and, you know, really had a kind ear. You know, the story with him, he left the show because there was a technician's strike, and he refused to cross the picket lines. And they fired him. They fired him as a result of that. But he didn't want to be a scab, you know. So he honored the technicians, the NABIT. I think it was a NABIT strike when he did that. And the other one was David Ford. David Ford played Sam Evans, Maggie's father. I don't know whether you remember that as well, because you probably dealt just with the Collinwood. You dealt with the Collinwood crowd. With Joe Crothers. Joe Crothers played Joe Haskell. I think you had a run-in with him, that actor. I don't know if you remember that actor. He was a young guy. But anyway, so after Dark Shadows, you got involved. Tell us a little bit about you working with Al Pacino.
Well, as I said, I originally met Al at the Actors Studio.
Right.
And I did some projects with him over there. Mm-hmm. And then later on, when I went to run this theater, which was funded by the New York State Council on the Arts and the National Endowment of the Arts, Al used to come over and see the plays. because he knew I was running the place, and we were sort of friends. And then he asked me to come to work for his production company, which I did for 10 years. He eventually closed the office in New York. He moved to California. He wanted to be near his children.
Right.
But, it was a very interesting period in my life, and I enjoyed it. As I said, this documentary I did.
Richard?
It was the opening, Looking for Richard. Mm-hmm. It was the opening night film at the Cannes Film Festival.
Wow. This is something.
And I produced 3 films while I was working for Al, amongst other things that I did for him. But Al was a very dedicated theater guy too. That's one of the things I liked about him. He was one of the few major actors, who really came back and did theater occasionally after becoming a big movie star.
One of his latest achievements is in an internet Netflix series called Hunter, where he plays a Jewish, an Orthodox Jewish rabbinical type, and he was so good in that. He was so good in that.
Series.
How is that doing? Do you know?
I think it did very well. The first, what do you? I don't know.
I think it did very well. A lot of people liked it. It was really compelling. I mean, it really was.
Yeah, Vicky's saying it did very well, very compelling. A lot of people liked it, and they've done one series so far. We were my fiance and I were riveted to it, and I got a kick out of it because he got out of the stereotype of playing the Italian, the Italian Godfather type of character, and he completely broke that mold. That's right, Vicky. And a lot of people, a lot of actors are unable to get beyond their stereotypes.
Get pigeonholed.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Michael? Is it easy for the actor to get past his stereotype, or does it take luck? Being in the right place at the right time, or do they really look at the talent when it comes to that? What's your take on that?
Well, my take really is it all comes down to talent. One of the things that I admired about Al, I never felt like he did anything for money. I always felt like there had to be something there that was really worth working on. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Look, there are people that are very talented, and there are people that are extremely talented, and you would call them artists, and I think Al, De Niro, Brando, guys like that, Meryl Streep.
Sure.
They're really artists, and they're really committed to their craft in a way that other people somehow aren't,
Right.
I did a television show with an extraordinary talented man, Zero Mostel.
Sure.
You ever heard it?
Sure. Fiddler on the Roof. Sure.
And so many other things. I mean, he was an amazing talent, and some people you just really enjoy working with because they're very, very serious about their work. Mm-hmm. And there are other people that are just in it for fame or glory or money or whatever. But
right.
Zero. I did a TV show with Zero Mostel. He played the head of a university, and I was a guy causing a lot of trouble on the campus. One of these rabble rousers. And Zero said to me one day before we got ready to shoot the scene, he said, "Michael, let's do an improvisation." I said, "Sure, let's do it." And we did this improvisation, and he came up with this great line. And he said to me, "You should say that line. It would be better if you said it." And I thought, wow, this is the kind of guy he is. I mean, he gives me a great line that he thought of,
Yeah, he was a generous man. He was a generous man.
Exactly. He was so generous, and that's the kind of guy he was. It was always what was best for the story, what was best for the show.
Well, it's very interesting, and I'll just give you a quick story from my end. And my uncle actually, when he in World War II, my uncle was in the same boot camp as Zero Mostel. That was when he was an unknown back in the early 40s. And he said that Zero Mostel at that point was the most quiet person you would ever want to meet in your life. He never said a word. You know, he was very, very introverted. My uncle remembered him as. So I think that's very interesting that later on he developed the extroversion through the acting, and I think that was very good for him because in private life I understand he was very he was a very quiet guy. He
was blacklisted. You know.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
he was blacklisted, and it really it really hurt him a lot because he was not able to get any work for years.
Yeah, you're lucky that didn't happen to you. You know?
Well, I guess so. You know, I don't know how I avoided it, but I did.
Wow.
There were others too. You know, I mentioned George C. Scott because I admired George too. I thought he was a wonderful guy to work with.
Yep.
I had a lot of respect for him. I thought he died too young, really. I don't know what happened to him, but
yeah,
you lose contact with a lot of the people that you work with.
Sure.
Over the years.
Sure.
Al did a very, very, very nice thing for me. Well, not really for me, for my wife. When she got her doctorate degree at NYU, Al gave her a big party out at his home in Rockland County. And he invited a lot of his friends, Warren Beatty,
wow,
the great dancer, Baryshnikov.
Sure.
A lot of famous people. And my wife invited her peers from NYU.
Uh-huh.
And I invited all my unemployed actor friends. So it was a really good mix, and it was a wonderful last Sunday. It was all day Sunday, and people swam in his pool, and he had a string quartet play on the patio, and it was really an amazing thing, and it was very, very nice of him to do that.
That sure was. What did your wife get her doctorate in?
Psychology.
So she was a clinical psychologist?
Yeah.
Wow.
She passed away.
I'm sorry.
Sorry to hear
I'm sorry. Do you have any? Do you have any children?
Yeah, I do. I have 2 boys.
Go. How old are they?
Well, one is 48 and one is 50.
They're not boys.
Still kids.
Yeah.
Do they have children?
Yeah, they do.
So you're a grandpa?
Awesome.
Yep.
You're a grandpa. That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Buzz would never have been a grandpa. I'll tell you that.
No.
But you.
The only thing that really I regretted about doing that show was, in a way, I wanted to extend that character. I wanted to see how far we could take him in terms of a storyline. You know, it might have been interesting to keep that relationship going with Nancy Barrett, and see how we could develop that. And had I stayed on the show, that was what I would have worked for. Because I think it could have been a good story, good for the story.
How do you? That's a very interesting question. How do you think it might have? Because obviously they gave you some creative input into the show, which was really great. Where did you see? Had you stayed on the show, where would you have liked the relationship with Carolyn to go as Buzz? Would marriage or what?
I think it would have been a very explosive kind of a relationship in a lot of ways.
Okay.
And I think it would be a lot of me coming in and out of her life. And I think I think I told you when you first called me that I'm doing something now I've wanted to do for years.
I was actually going to ask you about that. You're writing a play, right?
Yeah, I'm writing a play, and I've always been interested in writing, and that's why you made me think of this, because when I was on the show, I was thinking about how I would love to have extended that character in a lot of ways, and I think I could have given the writers some good ideas, you know. Because, as I said, I've always been interested in writing myself, you know.
Interesting.
What I hope to do is when I finish my play, I want to work on it at the Actors Studio.
And hopefully everything will be available again, so you'll be able to do that.
Hopefully, they're really shut down over there now.
Absolutely, and it's still. But I think after May 15th, but who knows what's going to happen in New York? And he's in New York. Everybody, we're not going to tell you where he is.
No.
But it's. Can you tell us what the play's about, Michael? Without divulging anything terribly, that's out of school. Is this a drama? Is it a comedy? What's it about?
It's a dramatic piece, and it's about the relationship between a very young girl who runs away from home and takes up with a remittance man. Do you know what a remittance man is?
No, what is that?
A remittance man is someone whose family, usually they're very wealthy, pay them to stay away.
Okay.
Usually he's someone who is an alcoholic or...
okay. The black sheep. The black sheep.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
he's usually the black sheep, and they don't want him around because they are highly respected, say, family,
Uh-huh.
So they hook up, and it's about their relationship. Actually, it's a love story.
Wow. Well, at age, and I'm going to tell the fans, he's 87 years old, everybody.
Awesome.
And he is still writing a play.
Yep.
So I only hope that once I hit that age, I'm writing something. I'll probably.
I had this idea for years, and I've finally gotten down to do it.
Good for you.
I want to finish it. I'm very, very curious as to what's going to happen with it.
Well, I hope that really works out for you, Michael. I hope that I want to, especially if it gets anywhere outside of the actor's studio, it would be wonderful. You'd probably be one of the oldest writers to have something like that get into the mainstream.
We'll definitely be watching for it.
My first impulse, of course, is that when I finish it, I want to sit down and do a reading of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Jonathan, actually. Do you remember Jonathan, by the way? Do you remember Jonathan?
I used to see him around.
What are your thoughts on Jonathan when you knew him back then?
Well, I didn't really get to know him very well. But he was a mainstay, of course, of the show. He seemed to be very serious about his work.
Yes, he definitely was. He's a Shakespearean actor. And, and I
think he did. I think he did some theater work in New York.
Yes, he did. In fact, he did. As soon as Dark Shadows ended, he did Murder in the Cathedral. So he was, and then later on, when he was trying to get back into business, he did Arsenic and Old Lace, and he was on Broadway in the 80s. In Arsenic and Old Lace. And the fans were privileged. He was doing a one-man show, and he needed an audience for his rehearsals, and he had it in his apartment in New York, and the fans were and a few of them, myself included, were very honored to attend those sessions with him. So we gotta, I mean, I can only tell you that man, you could talk to him about anything. He was so intelligent.
Where was he from originally?
Canada,
do you know?
Canada. Hamilton, Ontario, Canada.
A lot of good actors come from Canada.
Sure. William Shatner came from Canada.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Shatner. Yeah. Did you ever meet Shatner? Did you ever work with him?
No, I never met him.
Okay.
I never met him.
Yeah. But you met everybody. You met a lot more people than me and Vicky did, I'll tell you that much.
That's for sure.
Yeah, you met.
Well, part of it was because at one time I was doing a lot. I did 3 Broadway plays, and I did 5 plays off Broadway. And I worked with a lot of different people. I worked with Eli Wallach, who was a terrific actor, and a really great guy.
Sure.
A really good guy. So, you come into contact with a lot of them, and a lot of them are gone now.
Yes, that's exactly right.
I tell you a brief story about Brando. I never met Marlon, but when Al and I were in L.A. once, and we were having breakfast in the hotel, he said to me, I think I'll call Marlon. I haven't talked to him in a long time. And I said, you should, Al. I'm sure he'd like to hear from you. And he said, maybe I'll drive up to his house and see him. So he said, you want to go up with me? I said, no, I don't think so, Al. I think I'd make him uncomfortable. He doesn't know me. He said, you can come if you like. I said, no, I don't think I will. I just feel like he wouldn't be at ease.
Sure.
So he said, okay, well, I'll see you tonight for dinner. So that night at dinner, I said, did you get up there? And he said, yeah. And he said the weirdest thing. He told me to park in back of the house, and he comes out in an apron and a can of Easy Off oven cleaner in his hand. And he said, well, let's go in the kitchen and I'll give you some coffee. And Al said, Michael, it was incredible. He said the whole time I was sitting in the kitchen talking to him, he was cleaning his oven. And I never saw anybody clean anything the way he did that oven. He was so meticulous. He was so dedicated to cleaning his oven. It was amazing. And so I said, he said to her, he says, Marlon, don't you have a maid that does that kind of stuff? And he says, well, she wouldn't do as good a job as I'm doing.
Oh, no.
And
yeah.
It's amazing. That's Marlon Brando. I never told anybody that story before.
Well, I'm glad you did with us. He's very compulsive, and that's probably the kind of compulsivity that he put into his acting. So you're probably seeing that a residue of that from the outside. But that's it's kind of like Art Carney. I heard a story about Art Carney. I don't know if you ever worked with him, but he used to every night he'd take whatever change he had in his pocket and he'd put it on the dresser drawer, and he neatly stacked them. And he always insisted on doing that, neatly stacked them. And sometimes he had a lot of change. It looked like he had a mountain there. But that's what that reminds me of. So, Michael, as we're winding this up, is there anything that you'd like to say to the fans?
Yes.
That for so many years, believe it or not, have stuck with Buzz for whatever reason, through thick and thin. Do you have anything you'd like to say to them?
Well, I just, God, it has been so long, and I just am surprised and grateful that there are enough people out there that still think about, the show. And of course, on a personal level, that they responded to my character the way they did for such as I said, I was on for such a short time. Yeah. And I couldn't, I really couldn't believe how much people really liked it. And I know one day I bumped into somebody on the street, and they said, "Hey, what happened to you? What happened to your character? How come you're not on the show anymore?" And all I had to say was that it was just a mutual parting. Really, I was glad to go, and they may have been glad to get rid of me. I don't know.
Well, I don't think they
I don't think so. You were pretty.
It really happens frequently. It's like the guy on the subway stands up and shouts, "Buzz!"
Yeah.
That's amazing. But then again, that's a New York thing. That's what happens in New York.
I know.
It's that kind of thing that has kept me here all these years. I watched a lot of my friends move out to California, but I just couldn't live in Hollywood. I just couldn't do it. I used to go out there quite a bit, and but not to stay. I couldn't see living there. I lived here all these years.
Right. I understand exactly where you're coming from. Well, we do want to thank you, Michael, for you were unfortunately with the connection, but we did get most of what you had to say, and we're very, very grateful, and for those who weren't here, Michael was telling everybody about how grateful he was that people responded to his character, as well as personally. As well as in terms of professionally, and also for the contribution. Michael, your contribution to Dark Shadows will always be remembered. Even though your part wasn't big, it still made a difference.
It was memorable.
Well, all I can say is if it made an impact, I'm happy about that.
Absolutely. We did make an impact. Vicki and I both thank you. Vicki was thanking you. Unfortunately, with the you may not have heard it with the connection, but she was thanking you as well. And once again, everybody, we hope you enjoyed this presentation of listening to somebody that for the first time, if ever, is talking in this modality about his Dark Shadows experiences as well as the rest of his life. Michael, we wish you well.
Yes,
and we thank you very much. And we are now signing off, and we invite the listeners of Literary License Podcast to keep listening to both the regular episodes of Dark Shadows. We're having 2 coming on in May. Be sure to watch out for that on the internet, as well as most internet podcast apps. And we will continue to have guest interviews as they come across. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Take care now.
This has been a Literary License Podcast production. If you cry for help, there's no help for you.